No matter what channel she's on, she's still the queen of talk, right, Eric? You know, Oprah's had her fair share. She's the big O. She's had her fair share of struggles with that network own. But what she did was prove again what she does best, that she can get the whole world buzzing. She can get the interviews no one else can. She sat down, rare sit down with David Letterman earlier this year. And of course, last night's big mea culpa with Lance Armstrong. We had a lot of people looking for OWN on their cable packages and maybe even calling their cable company angrily if they didn't have it. Take a look.
Yes or no? In all 7 of your Tour de France victories, did you ever take banned substances or blood dope?
Yes.
Now, the viewers' numbers are not out yet for that interview, but it likely beat Oprah's biggest interview to date, which was actually Whitney Houston's daughter after the singer's death, and that was 3.5 million viewers. And
you're speaking of OWN. This is since...
Oh, yes, only on OWN. No, when she was on her network,
yes,
their interview with Michael Jackson had 90 million viewers. I mean, you can't even compare those numbers. Still, the numbers on OWN have been steadily rising, and CEO David Zaslav spoke at an investor conference last month. He gave the numbers. He said the network increased its average primetime audience by 61% to 328,000 viewers in the fourth quarter of 2012 from a year earlier. And he stuck to his projection that OWN is going to break even in the second half of this year.
But does it actually affect OWN's bottom line? Obviously, it helps their popularity. Those of us who are scrambling to figure out what channel it was last night. But today,
I'm
all
TiVo's
Bloomberg all
it.
the
I know
time.
Stephanie and her
I'm
interest.
all Bloomberg TV, nothing else.
Andy programmed the TiVo. That's how.
Maybe he did.
Yes.
All work and no play, making
Does
Stephanie.
Oprah actually make any real dollars out of this?
It's all about the carriage fees. And so right now they don't take a lot in terms of carriage fees from the cable company, the payment that they get. But those numbers are steadily rising, and they could actually rise after this interview. These are the numbers they have for carriage fees. The network revenues amounted to $106 million in 2012. That's according to SNL Kagan. This year they're projected to hit $239 million. But, you know, OWN still hasn't found its way into 30% of paid TV households. So there's a lot of room for growth.
What about the stickiness factor, right? The people who tuned into OWN last night to watch Lance Armstrong because they wanted to see Lance Armstrong. And maybe Oprah did a great interview. Is it going to keep them coming back to see her do, I don't know, Dr. Phil?
It might if they didn't know where it was on their cable channel. And then they are also reminded, oh, yeah, I love Oprah. Maybe not everyone, but certainly a lot of people do. If you think about the 90 million that watched her interview with Michael Jackson, that's a lot of people who can still say, oh, yeah, now I remember how much I love her.
Who gets paid for the interview?
Who gets paid for the interview?
So,
I mean,
Oprah
hopefully they get the viewers, they get higher ad dollars the next time they go around, they get higher ad fees the next time they goes around. And
what's in it for Lance Armstrong? Clearly, he's in a situation where he's getting sued. He could lose a lot of money here. What's the upside for him in doing the interview?
This is the beginning of his therapeutic journey, Stephanie.
Oh, boy.
He probably has a long-term plan to someday go back into sports.
This is the closest thing that he could find
thinks.
to neutral ground, I would suspect.
He felt like he had to do something. He was never going to live his life in peace.
He felt like he had to do something, or was a runaway train coming to run him over? Who knows? Eric didn't see it. I did. I felt like he admitted it.
I'm going to watch it on your TiVo.
He admitted it enough. It made me want to punch the TV. I mean, not since John Edwards' interview on Nightline have I been that annoyed with another person.
But it was almost like I stole a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, well, I didn't do. It wasn't. The drugs weren't that bad. Well,
look, the issue isn't whether he or not he took the drugs. Amazingly, right? Because it's true. Everybody took the drugs, and all the major cyclists got popped over the years, right? Tyler Hamilton, his former colleague, or former, co-cyclist on the U.S. Postal Service team. Floyd Landis, same thing. All the big European riders. Jan Ulrich.
He said he didn't think what he was doing was wrong, that it was part of the playing field.
But eventually
I'm not
they came clean.
Liar, liar, pants on fire. Come on now. You have kids, so do I. Would you jump off the Brooklyn Bridge if everybody else did? Part 2 tonight.
And apparently he pressured. That's what the thing is. The other teammates felt like they had to do it. That's what they're saying.
That's the big case for the U.S. For the government, right? If they believe, as Floyd Landis has alleged, that Lance Armstrong was something of a ringleader here, as opposed to just another guy taking EPO and testosterone and human growth hormone, that kind of thing.
Wow. A lot of payments.
It's the story, the Lance Armstrong story.
He talked about how one day he lost $75 million in endorsements. That was the $75 million day.
Wow. I wonder what that feels like.